Okay, guys, so very important concepts that we have to cover. Please pay close attention. Everything I write, make sure you write it down on a plain sheet of paper and then write your first and last name, take a photo of it, and then you're gonna upload it to the portal that I'm gonna show you. You're gonna upload it to the portal, okay? Alrighty, so you have to understand that today we're gonna be doing the endocrine system. And we're going to be looking at the endocrine system from three perspectives. From a structural perspective, which means anatomically. And you know that even when it comes to our diseases, it also has to do with the structure of the organs of the system. Remember last week we talked about the cardiovascular system. We've seen some diseases have to do with the structure. So there are diseases with the valvular diseases, the valves becoming too stiff or the valves becoming too loose. The valve becoming too stiff or the valve becoming too loose. Also, we talked about some diseases that do with the function, not even the structure. And examples of those are going to be problems in the autorhythmic function, and we see that the heart is not contracting as adequately as it should to meet the metabolic demands of the body. So we will do that for every system. Every system that we will be meeting here to go over, we will talk about the anatomy, the structure of the system. We will also be talking about the function or the physiology of the system. And lastly, we're going to be discussing the pathology or the disease that will happen. And you will absolutely see that all the diseases are either something wrong with the structure, anatomy, or something wrong with the function, the physiology. There is a disease for every structural, anatomical problem, every functional and physiological problem. Is that clear? Are we all clear? Okay, so structurally, what is my endocrine system made up of? What is the endocrine system made up of? So the endocrine system is obviously notoriously known for being a system that is made up of glands, and glands secrete what? Glands secrete hormones. Excellent. Glands secrete hormones. We have glands that secrete hormones. And in addition to glands secreting hormones, we also have nerves that secrete what?
Electrical impulse.
So the electric impulse is mediated by the neurons, the nerve. But what do they release in the end of the neuron? You know, the dendrite, and then you have the cell body, and then you have the axon, and then at the end you have the synaptic terminals with bubbles and vesicles in them. So what are the chemicals called? Yes. Neurotransmitters. Excellent. So the nerves, we have nerves that secrete neurotransmitters. Nerves that secrete neurotransmitters, and glands that secrete hormones. Is that clear?
Yes.
Glands that secrete hormones. And the glands secrete the hormones, and glands also secrete enzymes. Don't just make it look like we're only secreting hormones. We have hormones and also enzymes. Glands are secreting enzymes and hormones. Is that clear? Glands are secreting enzymes and hormones. And the enzymes and the hormones are secreted either in the bloodstream, so the glands are secreting the hormones in the bloodstream, or they are secreting the hormones and the enzymes in the duct, in the ducts. So there are two ways in which we secrete those hormones. We secrete them either in the blood or in the duct. If you are a gland that secrete your hormone, the hormone in the blood, what kind of gland is that? Excellent. That's the endocrine gland. Very good. If you secrete your substance in the blood, that's an endocrine gland. But if you secrete your substance in a duct, that is known as the exocrine gland. Exocrine gland. There is an endocrine gland and an exocrine gland. Very good. So that's what it comes to the hormones. The nerves release neurotransmitters, and the neurotransmitters stimulate other nerves, or they stimulate glands. They stimulate other nerves. They stimulate also muscles. The neurotransmitters stimulate muscles. They stimulate other nerves, and they also stimulate glands. That's very important for us to understand. So the neurotransmitter will also stimulate glands, will stimulate muscles for the contraction, and the neurotransmitter is also going to stimulate other nerves. Please write this down. This is due in the end of the lecture. It's not due like a week later. Yes, please.
That thing is in the way, Professor.
I'm sorry, this thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's we can't see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have glands that secrete enzymes and hormones, and they secrete them either in the bloodstream, that makes it an endocrine gland, or secreted in a duct, that's known as a exocrine gland. Nerves secrete neurotransmitters. And they secrete the neurotransmitters in the glands, in the muscles, and in other nerves. In the glands, in the muscles, and in other nerves. Okay. In addition to the endocrine system being comprised structurally of glands, of nerves, it secretes hormones and enzymes into the blood or into a duct, or secretes neurotransmitters that would stimulate other glands or other nerves or other muscles. Now we're going to talk about the function. All of these hormones, whether hormones being secreted in the duct like an exocrine gland, or hormones secreted in the blood like an endocrine gland, or hormones that are secreted with neurotransmitters in the nerves or in the muscle. What are we trying to accomplish here? What is the endocrine system function? The endocrine system has three main objectives and three main functions. There are three main objectives and three main functions. 1, 2, and 3. The first function of the endocrine system is to achieve homeostasis. What does homeostasis mean? So this is what everybody says. Homeostasis means balance. Some students said Homeostasis mean steady state. Some students say homeostasis mean equilibrium. That is all wrong. Yes, please. Yeah. So homeostasis is from the name. Look at the name. What does homeo mean? Homeo means the same. Homeo means the same. Stasis means constant or stable. Constant. So what does that mean? What does homeostasis mean? Homeostasis means you're staying constant by staying the same. Staying constant by staying the same. What does that really mean? It means that all the variables in your body, your blood pressure is a variable, your temperature is a variable, your blood pH is a variable, the oxygen level is a variable, carbon dioxide level is a variable, calcium, potassium, magnesium levels are all variables. But those variables are kept constant at all times, whether you're sleeping, whether you're up. For example, let's begin with temperature. If it's really hot outside, let's say you take a thermometer. You take a thermometer and you put it under your tongue in a cool room, in your living room. What will your temperature read with a thermometer? 37 degrees Celsius. In degrees Celsius. It's going to be 37 degrees Celsius. If you go out in the cold, it's really cold, and you start shivering, you put the thermometer under your tongue in the cold outside. Is it going to read the same, or is it going to be, you're going to be freezing? Is the temperature going to drop? No.
The same everywhere.
That's why we say homeostasis, because you shivered. So the shivering, everybody please pay attention. The shivering warmed you up. If you now go to a really hot sauna, spa, really hot, in the summer, and you're sweating like crazy, you put the thermometer under your tongue. You measure the temperature, what is it now? The same. Exactly, your sweat cooled you. Whether you're in the living room, whether you're out in the blizzard, whether you are in the sauna, your temperature is the same. But when you were in the blizzard, you were shivering. And when you were in the really hot marathon spa, you sweat. And that is how you achieved homeostasis. So homeostasis is to maintain a constant, stable, internal environment, no matter what is happening on the outside. Is that clear? Yeah. Outside could be a blizzard, no problem, we'll take care of that. We'll shiver and we're gonna warm up. Outside is really hot, we'll sweat and we'll cool down. You see how it works? You are suffering from acidosis. Your pH dropped. Well, no problem. You're going to hyperventilate. Why are you hyperventilating? Because you're shunting and you're removing carbon dioxide. When you remove carbon dioxide from your blood, you lower carbonic acid and you lower the acidosis. You become neutral. You urinate and your urine is going to be full of hydrogen proton. You see how there's systems to help you maintain homeostasis. Those systems will never work without. Thank you. Those systems will never work without. Those systems will never work without hormones. So whenever it comes to homeostasis, there are hormones that told your body, hey, listen, blood sugar dropped, blood sugar increased, we need to do something about, we need to shiver, shivering, thermogenesis. We need to sweat and cool. So that's called homeostasis. If you had a dead body, you had a corpse or a cadaver with you, and you literally grab the cadaver in your living room, you measure your thermometer, and you put the thermometer in the mouth of the cadaver, you measure. For you, it's room temperature. For you, it's body temperature, 37 degrees Celsius. For the cadaver, it's gonna be just the room, just like the room. You go out in the blizzard, you measure yourself, you're shivering, still 37 degrees Celsius. You measure the dead body, it's gonna be what? 0. Because the dead body cannot shiver, it cannot maintain homeostasis. So it cannot maintain an internal constant internal environment. Now you go into a hot sauna. You measure your temperature, you're at the same level. You tell you put it on the dead body, it's gonna be as hot as because he cannot sweat. So homeostasis means that you resist the external environment and you maintain a constant internal environment. Is that clear? Are there any questions? Okay. So there's a homeostasis of the organism. The number one job of the endocrine system is homeostasis of the organism. Examples of that is to maintain a U state, euglycemia, meaning the sugar is homeostasis, not hyperglycemia, not hypoglycemia, euglycemia. Blood pressure, we're going to be having eutension, not hypertension, not hypotension. We're going to be having eucalcemia, not hypercalcemia, not hypocalcemia. We're going to be having euvolemia, meaning my blood volume. My blood volume is going to be healthy. My blood volume is going to be healthy, the same. It's not going to overtly hypovolemic, you lose blood volume, like dehydrated, or hypervolemia, like you drink too much water. So maintaining a that's a homeostasis of you, the organism. There's another homeostasis now we need to worry about. What is the other homeostasis we need to worry? There's a homeostasis of the organism, and then there's a homeostasis of the... Why are the dinosaurs no longer around? So we have hormones that help us maintain the internal environment, and there is hormones that help us fight the extinction. We don't want to die. So we're going to have hormones for reproduction. So the homeostasis of the population. Homeostasis of the population. There's a homeostasis of the organism, and there's a homeostasis of the... Pay attention and write down, because that will come in handy on the exam. You go home, you review the questions I gave you on that homework. You don't want to do them, it's up to you. But don't come and say on the exam, oh, I didn't know on those homework questions. So you have to do the homework questions to do well. And you have to pay attention to what I explained, because if you don't take notes, you're not paying attention with your mind, you will see a question on the exam, you will see you even wrote it, you submit it up in the portal, but you don't understand it. What's the point? So pay attention, and you see, after I record this, I'll post it up for you. All the lectures, the one we did from 2 weeks ago, the one we did last week, this week, until the end of the course, they will always be up online for you. So please pay close attention. There's a homeostasis of the population, and that is reproduction. Homeostasis of the population is reproduction. So these are called the sex hormones. So we have some hormones to help you. I forgot to put survival. Survival. We have some hormones for survival. We have some hormones for survival. Like surviving high temperature, surviving cold temperature, surviving acidosis, surviving alkalosis, surviving hyperglycemia, surviving hypoglycemia, surviving you survive, you don't die. And then there's other hormones that help you survive extinction. What is extinction? What is to prevent reproduction? To prevent extinction. Extinction. To prevent extinction. What is extinction? What does extinction mean? Who can define for me extinction? That is when the last organism in that species is gone. Not a single one left. You know, the koalas, there's about like 7 of them left. That's the endangered species. Endangered species. But we don't say extinct because they're still around. 7, but they're still around. The dinosaurs, all gone. Not a single one. Maybe I'm a dinosaur. But dinosaurs, long time ago, are gone. So that's extinction. So to help us survive, and we don't want to be extinct, there are hormones for homeostasis of the population. What's the middle one now? What's the other function your hormones can do besides helping you survive, besides helping the population survive? What could be the third one? I'm sorry? Yeah, growth and development. Growth and development. And that means many things. Growth and development. This growth and development, this growth and development means you develop physically. Obviously, your body now does not look like the way it was when you were 5 years old. Doesn't look the way it was when you were 10 years old. Your body doesn't look the same way when you're teenager, 50, 25. And you see that is a sign of growth and development. Are we just concerned with the development of the body, the bones, the muscles, the organ system, or there's also mental and cognitive and intellectual development too? Many people, their bodies look like they are fully mature and developed and grown, but the intellectual disability is a disability. So there are hormones that help you develop structurally, physically, anatomically, and also functionally and mentally and cognitively. We will see all these hormones. So you see now how important your endocrine system is. It's important for your survival, the survival of your population, for your growth, and for your development. Now this endocrinologist guy is very important. So that's a very, 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 very important system. So we will learn that. Now when we come to our diseases, they gotta be something wrong with some gland or some nerve or some duct or some neurotransmitter or something with the homeostasis not being regulated, something wrong with the growth and development, something wrong with the population. Does that make sense? Yeah. When we go in the slide, always, that's why you take anatomy and physiology before pathophysiology. Because pathophysiology, you see always the title, alterations of the cardiovascular system, alterations of the endocrine system, alterations of the respiratory system, and so on. Is that clear? Yeah. Now, there's a very important concept that we need to cover, and that is how exactly does your endocrine system operate? No problem. If you have missed something I wrote, no problem. It's gonna be due like not at 8. I'll make it midnight so you can go. You can listen. You can listen in your car or you can look at the video. It's gonna be on YouTube.
Post it right away.
right away. I post it right away and delete it from my phone. I post it to YouTube immediately and then that's it. You will find it there. Okay. Alrighty. So now there is a couple of feedback loops that you really need to understand. Everybody needs to understand something. Let's look at two of the most high yield negative feedback responses two of the most important negative feedback responses you need to be aware of. Number one, hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia. Both are bad. You can't say the more the better. The more sugar the better. No. The less sugar the better. No, we need the right balance amount of sugar. So let's look at how your body repairs both. Let's say that patient number one is suffering from hyperglycemia. That is patient number one. Patient number two is suffering from the opposite. Hypoglycemia. That is number two. Hypoglycemia. So we have hyperglycemia and we also have hypoglycemia. Is that clear? Questions? So let's begin with the first one. Always whenever there is a problem, who is the first one to report the problem in your body? Receptor, sensor, detector. Always. So for example, if you're going in the street, you saw a fire in a home, or you saw a crime taking place in the street, or you saw somebody homeless, comatose with a needle, intravenous injection drugs, well, you're the one who's gonna call the center. So you're gonna call the center will send the police or the fire truck or the ambulance. That's the first point. So always in your body you have a system of sensors, receptors. So there are there's a receptor, which is a sensor, and a detector. The receptor, the sensor, and the detector. Receptor, the sensor, and the detector. Receptor, the sensor, and the detector. So we have different types of receptors. You need to know all of them because they all have different jobs. Who can tell me the first type of receptor? Well, how about let's start with this one. What's the name of the receptor that will detect that the sugar went up? Glucoreceptor? Is that what we call it? What's the name of the receptor? You know, receptor names are either osmoreceptor, chemoreceptor, nociceptor, mechanoreceptor, photoreceptor, proprioceptor. What do you think for sugar? What kind of receptor is that? Well, what is glucose? Is glucose light photoreceptor? Is glucose heat thermoreceptor? Is glucose osmolarity osmoreceptor? Is glucose pain nociceptor? Is glucose a chemical chemoreceptor?
Yes.
Yes. So chemoreceptors are tasters. They taste the blood. It's too salty. It's not too salty. There is too much sugar, too little sugar. So those are chemoreceptors. So we have chemoreceptors. These are not the only ones, by the way. You know, if you hold ice with your hand, if you make a fist with ice, in the beginning, it feels really cold. In the end, it feels really cold. You feel pain, burn pain. Why is that? It's the same ice cube, isn't it? Your same palm, isn't it? So why is it first cold, then pain? Because in the beginning, the thermoreceptors were activated. Thermoreceptors were sensing, detecting cold. But in the end, is no longer thermoreceptor. What is it now? Nociceptors, the pain. Pain. Nociceptor, the pain. Is that clear? Questions? So we have different types of receptors. We have chemoreceptor, nociceptor for pain, mechanoreceptor, osmoreceptor. But now for this one, we're dealing with chemoreceptor. But it doesn't mean the other ones are not important. For now, we're just dealing with chemoreceptor. So the chemoreceptor will sense that hyperglycemia, sugar level went up, plus. Sugar level went up. So what was going to happen now is that it's going to contact, it's going to send an input. It's going to send an input that is sensory and afferent input, sensory afferent stimulation, input sensory afferent stimulation to a control processing and integration center. Processing, control, and integration center. That's the template. Integration center. In this case, who's going to be the one who's going to process that? Oh boy, sugar is high. We're going to have coma now. Who's going to do that? Not the brain. Oh, we got you this time. Not the brain. The brain is when it's hot. You're right. When it's hot, the thermal nucleus of the hypothalamus will process, integrate, and control. That is too hot, sending an efferent output to the sweat glands to make you sweat. That's the brain. But for sugar, is not the brain. Is the pancreas. The pancreas. The pancreas is going to receive it and process it, and then the pancreas is going to send out an output motor, and output efferent response, which is to secrete insulin. We're going to be secreting insulin. And what is insulin going to do? Insulin is going to bind to a receptor and is going to open the channel to allow for, remember, you have two compartments. You have the blood compartment and you have the cells. Those are two different compartments. Compartment number one, the cell. Compartment number two, the blood. You see, compartment number one, the cell, and compartment number two, the blood. If there is so much glucose in the blood, glucose, there's so much glucose in the blood, you see that insulin is going to lead glucose to go from the blood to the cell. And that is going to ultimately lower glucose concentration. And now, in the beginning, it was hyperglycemia. Now, it's going to be euglycemia because of insulin. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now, let's look at the opposite. Somebody with hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia means that this person now, there is low glucose in the blood. So the receptor, the sensor, the detector, receptor, sensor, detector is going to say, hey, blood sugar went too low. We're going to have a coma now. We're going to have shock. So now we're going to send an input to who? An input. We're going to send an input that is afferent, that is sensory into the processing, integration, and control center. Into the processing, sensor, and integration center. Processing, sensor, and integration center. Processing, sensor, processing, control. Processing, control, and integration center. And that one is obviously going to be the pancreas. And the pancreas is now going to secrete the output that is efferent and motor, and that is going to release, it's going to release glucagon, and glucagon is going to increase what? Sugar in the blood. So glucagon, now let's go there. How is glucagon going to increase sugar in the blood? It's going to go to the cells and bring sugar out from the cells? No, it's going to do that from the liver and the pancreas just secrete the hormone. The call center send the cops. Doesn't come fight for you. Doesn't send the ambulance. Doesn't come treat you. So it will liver and not the fat, is lipids, the liver and the muscle. So now we will go, that's the warehouse where we store the sugar, the liver and the muscle. So now glucagon is going to make the opposite. Glucagon is going to go to the cells of the liver and the cells of the muscle and make all the glucose that was sequestered there come out into the blood, and that is going to raise the blood sugar. Is that clear? The blood is going to come out from the glucose. The blood is going to come out from the liver, the muscle cell into the blood. Questions? Are there any questions? So you really need, I'm sorry?
Number 2, put next to the arrows.
Liver and muscle. Liver and muscle. Glucose is low. Glucose is dropped. Is that clear? The other thing, before we go into the slides, a very important concept you guys really need to...
Was listening to you.
Okay, so I will prepare the drawing, and then we will, from now on, you just come copy it down.
Yes, sir.
Don't worry, next time you'll see. Next time you'll see. Okay, are we done?
No.
I will pause that. Okay, all right. You have a question? Anybody has a question?
Professor, I have a question.
Yes.
So this part, the hypoglycemia and the hyperglycemia, that
Shh,
is,
what's going on? What's the laughing? Yes, please.
the hypo and hyper, that's the part of the pathology of the disease,
That's the what?
the disease pathology. Is it?
So that that's the pathology when you can no longer have a homeostasis. So you always have hyperglycemia, you can't fix it. You always have hypoglycemia, you can't fix it. You always have hypertension, you can't fix it. You always have hypotension, you can't fix it. That's it. Yeah.
Would that be considered negative feedback?
So negative feedback is when you successfully resolve the problem. Treatment is negative feedback. Treatment is negative feedback. Questions? All right. So now, let us go over how these, so now we talked about how the hormones are secreted, and you must understand that these hormones have to go to the target cells. Hormones have to go and bind the target cells. Hormones go and bind the target cells. Okay. You must understand that hormones work in axis. In axis. There is always a gland A will stimulate gland B, and gland B will stimulate gland C at some times, and then gland C will secrete the hormone, and the hormone is gonna go and bind to the cells. So there is like a order, like a dominoes effect, like a chain of command. You see, we have the hypothalamus, that's the top one. The hypothalamus. And all the hypothalamus hormones end up with the suffix RH. RH, meaning releasing hormone. Any hormone that ends with RH is called releasing hormone. That's a hypothalamus hormone. Like growth hormone, releasing hormone. Thyrotropin, releasing hormone. Gonadotropin, releasing hormone. Growth hormone, releasing hormone. If it ends with releasing hormone, that means it is secreted by the hypothalamus. Sometimes some hormones from the hypothalamus don't end with a RH. They end with a IH, inhibiting hormone. So if a hormone ends with a IH, inhibiting hormone, or releasing hormone, inhibiting hormone, releasing hormone, inhibiting hormone, that comes from the hypothalamus. Then once you go down from the hypothalamus, the target is going to be the master gland, known as the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is the master gland. And why is the pituitary called the master gland and not the hypothalamus? I used to think that the hypothalamus was at the top. That is the one that is known as the I used to think it's the one that's known as the master gland, but it isn't. It isn't. Because the pituitary gland hormones are the ones that are understood and the ones that will have the effect in your body. If you get an injection of growth hormone, releasing hormone, you're not going to grow. Because that one only works on the pituitary. But when the pituitary releases growth hormone, oh, you will grow. That's why people who suffer from dwarfism, when they get an injection of, do they get an injection of growth hormone or growth hormone releasing hormone? Growth hormone. Where does growth hormone come from? Now you see why we call it the master gland. Because only the hormones from the pituitary gland will give effects. But those hormones from the pituitary gland will not come out just like that. Will not come out for no reason. They need stimulation from the hypothalamus. Excellent. So, we have different releasing hormones that will target the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland looks like this. It has two lobes. An anterior, excellent. There's an anterior part, and there's also a posterior part. There's the anterior pituitary. Please remember that. This is the anterior pituitary, and that's the posterior. The anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. The posterior pituitary has a name besides posterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary has a name besides anterior pituitary. What's the name? For the anterior pituitary is called the hypophysis. Anterior pituitary is called adenohypophysis. They are interchangeable. Same thing. If I say the adenohypophysis, I mean the anterior pituitary. If I say the anterior pituitary, I mean the adenohypophysis. And the posterior pituitary is known as the neurohypophysis. Neurohypophysis. The neurohypophysis. Clear? Questions?
So the front is the adeno.
I'm sorry?
Which one? Adeno is the front.
Front is the anterior front is the adenohypophysis and the posterior is the. You need to know also that the posterior pituitary is not a gland actually. It's a storage site. So the hormones are already made from the hypothalamus and stored there. You know, restaurant, they make the food for you. You can go to somewhere and they can microwave some food for you. Food that is already made, they microwave it for you. And some they cook fresh food for you. That's the difference between adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Neurohypophysis is ready, prepared, and sitting there waiting to be microwaved and used. And the posterior pituitary has only two hormones. What are the only two hormones in the posterior pituitary? ADH, also known as vasopressin. Please remember that. Vasopressin. Vasopressin is ADH. What does ADH mean? Anti-diuretic hormone. From the name, anti-diuretic hormone. Meaning that this hormone is anti what? Please don't say diarrhea. One student said anti-diarrhea. It's not anti-diarrhea hormone. It's anti-diuretic.
It's water.
It does what?
Water. Retains. It retains.
It prevents.
Yeah.
From the name. Look at the name. Look at the name. Anti-diuretic hormone. That means it is the one that will inhibit urination, water loss. Why would that hormone be secreted? Give me a scenario when your hormone ADH will be in your body. Dehydration. Dehydration. If you're running the marathon, so hot. If you are fasting Ramadan in the middle of the day, they take your blood, ADH is in the roof to preserve the water, to prevent water loss. So that's one enzyme that's back there in the posterior pituitary. The other one is known as oxytocin. That's the squeezer. Squeeze is what? The uterus. When the baby is being born, the baby pushes, it goes up to the control center, the brain sends out oxytocin from the posterior pituitary. Squeeze the uterus, baby pops out. Another squeezer is the milk duct. The baby suckle the nipple, irritate the nerve endings in the nipple, and the nerves go to the brain. The brain secretes oxytocin from the posterior pituitary. The milk duct release all the milk. That's oxytocin. Only two hormones from the posterior pituitary. The anterior pituitary has different hormones. It has growth hormone. It has LH and FSH, and I'm going to talk to you about those. They are amazing. LH and FSH. It has TSH. What else? LH, FSH, GH, TSH. Is that all?
No.
Prolactin. Somebody say GnRH.
No, that's not. No.
Because GnRH ends with what?
Releasing.
With releasing hormone. So tell Bacola that. It ends with GnRH. It ends with GnRH. Gonadotropin releasing hormone. That comes from the hypothalamus. Okay, so now we will talk about those. And then the third gland is going to release the hormone. Then the hormone is going to go in the cell. There's something very special that I need you to know, guys. Something very important you really need to know. And that is, let's say your pancreas secrete insulin. Is it going to secrete insulin forever? Is your pituitary gland going to secrete growth hormone endlessly? What makes it stop? The hormone itself. When we have enough, the hormone will go up and say, there is enough of me in the blood. That's it. This is called negative feedback. The hormone is going to go up to the hypothalamus and inhibit, shut down the hypothalamus and shut down the pituitary gland. That's called a bi-loop inhibition. A major loop all the way to the hypothalamus and a minor loop all the way to the pituitary gland. A major loop to the hypothalamus and a minor way to the pituitary gland. Yes?
What's that C?
So the C sometimes the pituitary gland secrete an enzyme. Very good question. Like for example, pituitary gland secrete growth hormone. Growth hormone goes to the cells immediately. There's no C here. Sometimes hypothalamus, pituitary gland, the cell. Sometimes hypothalamus, pituitary gland, C. In the example of thyroid. So here you have thyrotropin releasing hormone. That's A from the hypothalamus. Then you come to the pituitary and you release T, S, H. Thyrotropin stimulating hormone. Then you go to the thyroid C, and the thyroid releases the thyroid hormone. Do you get it?
Yes.
Sometimes the hypothalamus, pituitary, the cell. Sometimes hypothalamus, pituitary, some other gland, C, then the cell. Is that clear?
Yes.
Sometimes the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, the hormone, the cell. The hormone got to go to the cell, always. But sometimes only two glands are involved. Hypothalamus, pituitary, hormone, cells. But sometimes hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, hormone, cell.
I was under the impression that every hormone has to regulate it through the thyroid because that's what controls like.
Thyroid only deals with thyroid hormone. There is many other hormones. There is cortisol that you release, corticotropin releasing hormone. Then you release from the pituitary ACTH. Then you go to the adrenal gland and you secrete cortisol.
So if question, if the thyroid does not involve in all the hormone secretion, why does it have such a great impact on the way your body regulates?
Yeah, it regulates metabolic rate. And metabolism is something very big, it's something essential. So your thyroid gland regulates thyroid hormone release, and the thyroid hormone releases regulates basal metabolic rate. Now, there's other hormones too, but we will see in the slides. Some of them only come from the pituitary, go to work. You know how you go, some people go to high school, college, get a job. Some people high school, college, graduate school, then get a job. So here we saw the growth hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, growth hormone from the pituitary, and then it goes and does its job. No third stage. But for the thyroid hormone, you have thyroid hormone releasing hormone from the hypothalamus, then thyroid stimulating hormone from the pituitary gland, then the thyroid hormone from the thyroid gland. 3 steps. But in the end, they always follow each other. The hormones affect, they cause the release of each other. And in the end, don't forget, you go back, no matter if growth hormone is released, it's gonna go back, inhibit the pituitary, inhibit the hypothalamus. Thyroid hormone, go back, inhibit the pituitary, inhibit the hypothalamus. It's called biloop inhibition. Major loop goes up to the hypothalamus, minor loop goes up to the pituitary gland. We're gonna talk about that.
Thank you.
Okay? And we have the concept, we talked about this very important concept a lot, which is the concept of upregulation and downregulation of receptors. So if we now look at the upregulation and the downregulation of receptors. Let's look at the upregulation and the downregulation of receptors. I have a cell that looks like this. And that is my blood in the blood vessel. We did this for glucose. Glucose, 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 glucose. So if there's so much glucose, what's the name of the receptor? What's the name of the receptor that will open up the cell? That's the cell. The name of the receptor that will open up the cell to allow for glucose to go in. The name of the receptor that will allow for glucose to go in. The name of the receptor that will allow for glucose to go in. What's the name of that receptor? It's a chemoreceptor, but what is the name of it? Like what chemical does it detect? Insulin. Excellent, insulin. So, when you have a meal, everybody, this is very important. When you eat a meal rich in glucose, wake up in the morning, you eat pancake, you eat bagel, you eat coffee with cookies and cream, something I didn't do today. So when you eat a big meal in the morning, that's exactly what happens. Your blood is full of sugar. So insulin is released. Insulin is released, and it binds insulin receptor, and then glucose starts to come inside the cell. Glucose tries to come inside the cell. Glucose builds up inside the cell. Is that clear? So glucose goes away from the blood and it goes inside the cell. This was around 9 a.m. And then you went to sleep. You had breakfast, you went to sleep. You woke up, then you went to a buffet. And you went and you got the pasta and the bread and you had ice cream, and there we go again. Glucose, glucose, glucose. Your blood is again full of glucose. The cell, so now your pancreas will read there is so much glucose it will secrete insulin. The cell will say, hey,
What's going on?
hey, I'm already full of glucose. The blood will say, well, I'm full of glucose too. The cell will say, I cannot take any more glucose, I will explode. The blood will say, it's not my problem. You need your glucose. So now the cell will start to stop producing insulin. They will down-regulate and remove the insulin receptor. So now the insulin is being released. Insulin, 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 insulin. There's no receptor for insulin on the surface of the cell. If there is no receptor for insulin, what's going to happen to glucose? That is diabetes. Diabetes type 2 is when the cell is full of sugar and and is full of sugar, and the blood is full of sugar, and the cells are removed. It's called down regulation of receptors. Down regulation of receptors. End organ resistance. End organ resistance. That's the end organ resistance. Yes.
Professor, before now, I used to think insulin is a hormone. For what, if I understand what you're trying to say, you're saying that chemoreceptor is insulin attaches to it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
Okay.
So
it's not really, insulin is not really a receptor on its own.
insulin is a hormone, but it works by binding to a receptor, and once it binds the receptor, it opens for glucose to go inside the cell. Did you get the down regulation? Now let's say now you starve to death. You're fasting Ramadan. No glucose. No glucose in the blood. So now all the glucose is gonna go out from the liver and into the blood, and the cell is gonna, and you're fasting and you're working and you're consuming so much glucose. Now the cells have no glucose inside. What do you think is gonna happen now when you have so much glucose? When you have so much glucose in the blood vessel, when the cell is empty, the cell is now going to go back and rebuild the receptor 4. This process is known as upregulation. So upregulation is when I don't have enough. Now I can take. But before, I'm going to shut down the door. Is that clear? The same concept happened with LDL. The same exact concept. The same exact concept for insulin is with LDL. LDL for cholesterol. Cholesterol. So the receptor here is not insulin, is LDL. LDL. So now, if you have too much cholesterol inside, the same idea. If you're full of cholesterol inside, what's going to happen to the LDL receptors? They're going to get down-regulated, and all the cholesterol is going to build up inside the, cause them to have a heart attack. God forbid. And the opposite. You want to get treated? Stop taking the cholesterol food. So you stop taking cholesterol, and you exercise, you remove all the cholesterol. Now the cells will be happy to upregulate the which receptor? LDL receptor. LDL receptor. Is that clear? Thank God. That's what the whole lecture is about today. So now let's go into the PowerPoint slides and make sure we did not skip anything. Okay. By loop, because it inhibits both. Inhibits the pituitary gland and inhibits the major loop that goes up to the hypothalamus, and the minor loop goes where?
To the
Pituitary. All right, everybody, please turn on to the PowerPoints. What's happening to this thing? Everybody, please follow with me. Alteration of hormone regulation. That's what we talked about earlier. So those are all my glands. I need to know them really well. We need to know our glands. Number one, the pineal gland is known for secreting the sleep hormone known as the... Just for the figures, I'm going to turn off the lights so that it can look clear. Okay. So, the pineal gland is the gland that is responsible for regulating the sleep rhythm by secreting a hormone known as the melatonin. This pineal gland is huge in babies. Babies have huge pineal gland. That's why they sleep a lot. But when you get older, the pineal gland shrink. That's why the elderly are walking around the house 3 a.m. They can't sleep at night. Why? Because the pineal gland is too small, shrink with age. So they need to take pills of melatonin. This shrinkage, yes.
So, quick question, Professor. You said that the elderly, right? Is that also taking place when they're having dementia or Alzheimer's as well?
No. So it shrink naturally. That's called physiological shrinkage. As you get older, your pineal gland is gonna shrink smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. We call that involution. Please remember that. Involution. Involution.
That's the shrinking of the pineal gland.
Yes. So involution, please write that down. Involution. Involution is the physiological, not pathological. There's no disease. It did not shrink because of the disease. It shrink because of that's a healthy shrinkage. It's called involution. And then you take the melatonin pills, you're okay. There's another gland that shrink just like the pineal gland, and that's the thymus. So it shrink also. The thymus gland is where the T cells mature. That's why they call the thymus, the T cells. Why do they call the T cells T cells? Because they mature in the thymus. So the elderly, they have a really tiny pineal gland. They don't sleep a lot. They have a really tiny thymus gland. So the immunity is very low and weak. So those glands, pineal gland and thymus gland, both undergo involution. Okay.
Professor, you were trying to define involution.
Yeah, so involution is the physiological shrinkage of the thymus and the pineal gland. Physiological shrinkage of the thymus and pineal gland. Then we have the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is the one that releases, what is that? The hormones that come out the hypothalamus end with two things. What are they? RH stands for releasing hormone, and IH stands for excellent. Then comes the master gland. What's the master gland? And it's divided into two portions. The anterior gland is known as, and the posterior gland is known as. Very good. Okay, then you have the bow tie. The bow tie gland. What's the name of the bow tie? The bow tie gland in front of the neck? Thyroid gland. Secretes the thyroid hormone. On the back of the thyroid gland, what do you have? That's the parathyroid gland. And it secretes what? Calcitonin. Very good. We will talk about that. And you have the thymus gland. The thymus gland is always where the necklace is. If you wear a necklace, it's gonna fall right on the thymus gland. Then we have the adrenal glands. Remember we say adrenaline? I have adrenaline rush. I'm going on the elevator to get, not the elevator, the roller coaster. The elevator does sometimes give adrenaline rush too, but the roller coaster is giving you adrenaline rush. So that because it secretes adrenaline, also known as epinephrine. Epinephrine. That's the adrenal gland. We will talk about it. Then the pancreas. The pancreas is two glands in one. The pancreas is two glands in one. It's the endocrine gland because it secretes insulin and glucagon in the blood. And it secretes digestive enzymes, pancreatic amylase, pancreatic lipase to digest lipids, to digest carbohydrates in the intestine, in a duct. So we call it exocrine gland. And lastly, we have the gonadotropins. So those are something very special you need to know. Please write this down. Something very special that you need to know about the gonadotropins. You have your hypothalamus. It will secrete a hormone known as GnRH, gonadotropin releasing hormone. Then it will go to the master gland, the anterior pituitary, that's the master gland. And then the master gland will secrete two hormones, FSH and LH. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone. LH is luteinizing hormone is LH. LH is luteinizing hormone and FSH is follicle stimulating hormone. Now I want to tell you something that is very special about the follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Let's say you have strawberry fruit. You have onion. You have green peppers, watermelon, apples, cantaloupe. When you planted all of them in the farm, did you give all of them water, or did some of them you give water, some of them you gave juice? All of them gave water. But still, you give water to the onion, gives you onion plant. You give water to the peach, gives you peaches. Gives water to the green peppers, gives you green peppers. You give water to the raspberry, gives you raspberry. The same water gives you different fruits depending on the kind of plant. Same thing. Follicle stimulating hormone, when it goes to the male testes and when it goes to the ovaries, will give you two different things. If follicle stimulating hormone goes to the testes, it will give you sperm. And follicle stimulating hormone, if it goes to the ovaries, it will give you eggs. How amazing, or ova. How amazing is that? The same hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, in two different places, giving you two different things. It's like giving water to onion to get onion, water to the lemon plant to give you lemon. Water to FSH to the testes, you get sperm. FSH to the ovaries, you get eggs. Luteinizing hormone, same thing. You go, this is the male testes, this is the female. I think it's known, but for some people they still need to know that the male testes. And here we have luteinizing hormone. If it goes to the male testes, luteinizing hormone in the male testes will give you testosterone. And if it goes to the female ovaries, it gives you estrogen. Yes,
So, other females also produce
I cannot hear you.
females. Don't they also have testosterone?
Yeah, that's the adrenal gland. When we talk about the adrenal gland, there's a portion of the adrenal gland secrete the opposite. You're right. But at this point, it's very important that the same hormone in two different places gives you two different. It's very important. Okay, now let's look here. This shows us, we talked about that earlier. We said that if we look here, we see neurons secreting neurotransmitter to stimulate who? Target cells. That's it. We talked about that earlier, remember? We said that in the nervous system we have nerves releasing neurotransmitters to cells. And we also have an endocrine system. Look at the arrow here. The arrow here is coming out from the gland into the blood. Then here it is leaving the blood and going to the cells. Now, we talked about that extensively. What is that? The hypothalamus, and this is the anterior, and that's the posterior. The posterior pituitary has oxytocin and ADH. The anterior pituitary, you need to know that the anterior pituitary communicates with the hypothalamus. Let's look at the hypothalamic hormones. Let's look at our hypothalamic hormones. Gonadotropin releasing hormone. Come on now. Gonadotropin releasing hormone. You up? Gonadotropin releasing hormone, thyrotropin releasing hormone, corticotropin releasing hormone, prolactin inhibiting hormone, growth hormone releasing hormone, and somatostatin. If you look at anterior lobe hormone, gonadotropin releasing hormone causes the release of follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, luteinizing hormone, LH, thyrotropin releasing hormone causes the release of thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, corticotropin releasing hormone causes adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, and growth hormone releasing hormone causes the release of growth hormone. Prolactin is released by the thyroid hormone. We will talk about that in a little bit. But you need to know which hormones come from where. That shows you the histology of both pituitary gland. This is the anterior pituitary, and that's the posterior pituitary. It looks like, you see, it has nerve fibers. You see the posterior pituitary, that's why they call it the neurohypophysis, because it has nerve fibers. Anterior pituitary has the acetophils. Now, this is the golden diagram for today. Let's look at all the different colors. Yellow color stands for thyrotropin releasing hormone coming from the going to the anterior pituitary. Then what comes out? Prolactin. So thyrotropin releasing hormone causes prolactin, and then milk comes out. Thyrotropin releasing hormone causes release of TSH, then thyroid hormone comes out. Gonadotropin releasing hormone causes the FSH and LH in testes and ovaries. Different results. Blue, corticotropin releasing hormone, release of ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, and ACTH causes the release of the cortisol. Here, that's not the end. Those organs are not the end. A product comes out the organs. Prolactin makes milk come out the organ. TSH makes thyroid hormone come out the organ. TSH, LH, and FSH will cause sperm and testosterone. And here, estrogen and eggs. ACTH causes the adrenal cortex to release cortisol. GH goes to the liver and the muscles and makes you grow. Don't forget something very important about this GH. You see this insulin-like growth factor, IGF? Some people are suffering from dwarfism, but growth hormone is fine. The level is fine. It's because they don't have IGF. They suffer from dwarfism. So now they did a research study. They found out that IGF isn't any less significant than. You really need to know that. On the exam, I can ask you, a patient suffering from dwarfism, but the growth hormone level is fine. What could be a possibility? You say because there's a problem with IGF, insulin growth factor. What does this image show me now? We talked about that. Yeah, the biloop inhibition. So now look at the thyroid hormone. In the beginning, the hypothalamus gives me thyrotropin releasing hormone. Then the anterior pituitary release thyroid stimulating hormone. Then a thyroid hormone comes out. When I have enough thyroid hormone, it goes back to block my anterior pituitary and my hypothalamus. Clear? What is that? The thymus. Look at the thymus in the baby. How big is the thymus? Huge. And how an adult? It looks very small. That's the thyroid gland, the bow tie. And those 4 buttons are the parathyroid gland. Now that's the adrenal gland I was talking about earlier. The adrenal gland look like a hat on top of the kidney. Everybody look here. See the kidney? On top of the kidney is a hat. This hat on top of the kidney. The hat on top of the kidneys. Can you please turn on the light? Please turn on the light. Thank you. Just, yeah, thank you. Turn it on. On. All of them on. Thank you. This is the kidney. on top of the kidney, you're gonna blow up like this. That's the adrenal gland. That's the adrenal gland. The adrenal gland, guys, is divided into two parts. A part in the core here. A part here in the core. This is called the adrenal medulla. That is called the adrenal medulla. You will see this word medulla a lot. That's the adrenal medulla. Medulla means the core. In your brain, you have the cortex, means the top, the roof. Medulla means the core. The kidney, you have the adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla. The nephron, you have cortical nephrons and medullary nephrons. Now let's look at see the one in pink is the adrenal, and the adrenal medulla secretes what? Epinephrine. The adrenal cortex is divided into three layers. Three layers. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. See, these are the three layers. The three layers, the most superficial one is called the zona glomerulosa. The one in the middle is called the zona fasciculata. And the one on the top of the medulla is called the zona reticularis. So the adrenal cortex has three layers. The zona glomerulosa, the zona fasciculata, the zona reticularis, and in the core you have the adrenal. And the adrenal medulla secrete what? Epinephrine. Zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, zona reticularis, they all secrete something. Why they name them like that? Glomerulosa means balls. That's why they have the kidney glomerulus, because it looks like a ball. So under the microscope, the zona glomerulosa looks like a ball. That's why they call it zona glomerulosa. And it secretes mineral corticoids. Mineral corticoids, such as aldosterone. So the zona glomerulosa at the surface secretes mineral corticoids like aldosterone. The one in the middle, the zona fasciculata, look like sticks. And it secretes glucocorticoids. Secreting glucocorticoids, such as cortisol. Questions? And the zona reticularis, that's the one that secretes the sex hormones that are, for example, when they took blood from men and they found estrogen, but the man has no ovary. They took blood from the woman and they found testosterone, she has no testes. Where are they coming from? From the zona reticularis. Those are called gonadocorticoids. Don't just say the word that pops to your head. Gonadotropin is in the hypothalamus. It secretes gonadocorticoids. Is that clear? If you look in the PowerPoints now, they are right there. The 3 layers. You see the 3 layers? Do you see the 3 layers? Look at the 3 layers. Do you see my kidney? Do you see the kidney?
Yeah.
See the adrenal gland? You see the 3 layers. You see the adrenal medulla first? You see the core, the one that I drew in pink? The adrenal medulla, do you see it? And do you see on the outside the adrenal cortex? On the outside you see the cortex. Now zoom in. The adrenal cortex is divided into the zona glomerulosa at the top, zona fasciculata in the middle, and the zona reticularis. And then you have the adrenal medulla. That's our pancreas, and we said that it is 2 in 1. It's the endocrine and a... Give me example of how the pancreas works as an endocrine gland.
Insulin secretion.
Please raise your hand and say complete answer. Yes, please.
Endocrine will be insulin and glucagon.
In the blood. In the blood. The pancreas secrete insulin and glucagon in the blood. See, the alpha cell secrete insulin, beta cell secrete glucagon. Now, exocrine. How can the pancreas work like an exocrine gland?
It secretes in the duct of the intestine.
Yeah, what does it secrete? You see that's the intestine?
Hormones
It's-
that breaks down like a food, not hormones, enzymes, amylase, lipase.
Lipase is called pancreatic lipase because it comes from the pancreas. It breaks down lipids, pancreatic lipase, pancreatic amylase. Very good. The chemical class of hormones. Some hormones are made of cholesterol. Those are cholesterol-based hormones, such as, everybody look here in the PowerPoint. How many rings does cholesterol have? How many rings? Cholesterol has 1 ring. Cholesterol has 4 rings. So you see testosterone is made of cholesterol. Estradiol is made of cholesterol. But some hormones are not made of cholesterol. They are made of amines. So we have 2 classes of hormones. Some hormones are water soluble and some hormones are fat soluble. Very important to know that. Look at insulin. Is it fat soluble or water soluble? Look at insulin. Does it have 4 rings?
No.
To be fat soluble, you have to be like cholesterol based. Insulin is inactive. It's called a pro-hormone. I know pro here means professional, but no. In the hormones, pro-hormone means it's inactive. In order for pro-insulin to become insulin, look at this slide. Tell me what happened. I'm sorry?
I think because it's water soluble, the hydrogen ions and it is easily attached to the other thing.
Look at the red part. It has been chopped off, right?
Yeah.
It's called the connecting peptide. If you remove a connecting peptide, the insulin becomes activated. You need to know that the thyroid hormone is rich in which mineral? Iodine. That's why people who live and drink water, not from a river, not from a lake, they drink from a well. Well water comes from where? The well water. That water that's in the well, where did it come from? It came from the river?
No.
It came from where?
It's the ground underneath.
From the ground?
No? Yeah.
From the rain. From the rain. So the rainwater doesn't have salt, doesn't have iodine. So they're always unable to make which hormone?
Thyroid.
Excellent.
Professor, you said when you remove connecting peptide,
becomes active. Look at it here. Look at my slide. You have pro-insulin and inactive. When you want it to start working, turn it on, is off now. Pro-insulin means it's off, inactive. Turn it on, chop off the insulin, and then it's gonna be chop off the connecting peptide. Then it's gonna work. This slide here shows us how the hormones act. Because we have two classes of hormones, you know that. The first class of hormones is soluble in what? Look at my mouse. Soluble in fats, because it has how many rings?
4.
That's a cholesterol-based hormone. So cholesterol-based hormones can, look at the arrow. Look at the arrow. It can cross the plasma membrane and go inside the cell. Welcome. It's like how you enter the school, you have an ID. You okay? You have an ID, you can enter the school. No problem. But if somebody who doesn't have an ID, can they enter the school? But somebody on their behalf, the public safety can come, right?
Yes.
That's the peptide hormone. Because peptide hormone is not lipid soluble. It's water soluble. So it binds on the outside. And on the inside, there is a second messenger that will go. So the enzyme, the hormone is the first messenger. If it's a lipid, steroid, it will go immediately. If it's a lipid, it will go cross immediately. If it's a peptide, water soluble, it cannot cross. Doesn't have the ID. Why can the steroid hormone cross so easily, but the peptide hormone cannot?
Because of fat base.
Because the plasma membrane is also lipid.
Yeah.
We're all lipids. Our plasma membrane, I'm lipid. Cholesterol-based hormones, you're lipid. We both dissolve in each other. Likes dissolve like. Birds of the same feather flock together. But the peptide hormone is water soluble, and the plasma membrane is lipid soluble. It cannot go in, so it stays on the outside, and then somebody, a second messenger, goes on their behalf. So insulin, yes.
So all fat-soluble hormones are steroids? Is that
Yeah,
what that means?
yeah, steroids, cholesterol-based. Why is it that girls and boys who grow up in poverty and famine, there's no food, no steak, no lipids, no fat, and they are starved, they don't reach puberty? Why? Not the growth hormone.
The lipids not able to.
The girls don't have a menarche, don't have a menstrual cycle. The boys do not reach puberty. They reach puberty very, very slowly. If you are eating well, you reach puberty as a boy, 15 years old. But if you are impoverished, you reach it when you're like 19. Why is that? Because when you don't eat food that is rich in lipids, you don't have cholesterol, how are you going to make testosterone? What did we say testosterone was made up of? Look here. Testosterone is made up of what? Of cholesterol. So you don't eat food that is rich in cholesterol fats. There is no cholesterol. How are you going to make testosterone? How is the little girl going to make estrogen? So you will not be able to reach puberty fast in time. That's an example of a second messenger. What does the second messenger do? What does the second messenger do?
Export. It helps. It makes way for the other one to go through.
Yeah. So the hormones that are water soluble, they cannot. You see how yellow? Why did they put the plasma membrane in yellow? Because it's like butter, fat, lipid soluble. This one is red. Give me an example of a water soluble hormone. Growth hormone. What else? We just talked about it.
Insulin?
Insulin. Remember insulin bind the receptor? Why does insulin bind the receptor? Why can't it just cross? I told you that
Soluble and water
because it's
soluble.
insoluble in lipid.
Yeah.
So it has anybody that has a receptor on the outside, means you can't get in. That's why you have a receptor on the outside, because you're water soluble. But fat soluble, they have a receptor on the inside, in the cytoplasm and in the cytoplasm and in the
And the outer layer, is that like the phospholipid layer?
hmm?
Is it like the phospholipid layer?
This is the phospholipid bilayer.
Yeah.
Is lipid. You cannot cross it if you're water soluble.
Yeah.
If you are lipid soluble, you can cross. That's another second messenger. So examples of water soluble enzymes or hormones are insulin and epinephrine, adrenaline, fight or flight. What is this here? Upregulation and you see here, when there is low receptor density, there's a weak response. You increase receptor density, there's increased sensitivity, and then there's going to be a response. But when you have enough, you're going to down-regulate the receptors. You see, upregulation, you had 3 receptors. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now you have only 4. Insulin and glucagon have antagonistic effect on the liver because the liver is the storage site for glucose. Let's look at insulin. Insulin takes glucose from the blood into the liver. Glucagon takes out glucose from the liver to the blood. And from the lipid bilayer, we take out the phospholipase, the lipid, we break it down, and we make the prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are so important because they mediate the pain, the heat, the redness in the inflammatory response, thanks to this enzyme here called cyclooxygenase. So cyclooxygenase would make lipids, would make prostaglandins from lipids, would make prostaglandins from lipids. So when you take NSAIDs like aspirin and ibuprofen, they block cyclooxygenase and you will no longer be able to make prostaglandins. So there's no prostaglandins, that means there's no pain. PP, prostaglandin, pain. NSAIDs, no prostaglandin, no pain. But another problem is, what happens if you keep taking NSAIDs a lot?
It becomes addictive and then it just
It doesn't become addictive. When you take NSAID a lot, it blocks the prostaglandins, so you will not feel pain. But prostaglandins, do they only mediate pain? What is the other thing that prostaglandins do?
inflammation.
Prostaglandins, in addition to mediating pain,
Is it inflammatory?
they make the mucosa layer of your stomach. You know the snake, it doesn't die with its own venom because it has a mucosa layer to protect it. The acid in your stomach breaks down steak, but it does not break down your doesn't break down your stomach wall because there is a mucosa layer. Who makes that mucosa layer? Prostaglandin. So when you pop those NSAIDs, you don't feel the pain. What happens to your mucosa layer? It deteriorates and it becomes so thin, and then you have stomach ulcer, stomach fissure. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So there's a downside. So they don't only mediate pain, they build the mucosa. Okay, so let us take a 10-minute break and come back to finish the rest of the slides. So now let's go over the alterations. So usually when there is a hormonal deficit, it is always caused by an inappropriate hypersecretion or hyposecretion. There's a disorder of the gland or some feedback loop problem. Remember we said that the hormone needs to be able to do a bi-loop inhibition, inhibit the pituitary and the hypothalamus. Or sometimes there's a problem with the target cell. The hormone is fine, the gland is fine, something is wrong with the target cell is not responsive, like diabetes mellitus type 2. Insulin is there, but the cell doesn't have a receptor. The pituitary gland, known as the hypophysis, divided into two lobes. Talked about that. Anterior adenohypophysis and posterior neurohypophysis. Anterior has 6 hormones, posterior has 2 hormones. Pituitary releases, we talked about that. TSH stimulates thyroid hormone, ACTH stimulates the adrenal gland. Which adrenal gland? It said ACTH stimulates the adrenal gland. Which adrenal gland? You know we have 2 adrenal. Adrenal cortex
Anterior.
and medulla. Adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. Even in the adrenal cortex, there's a zona, the one that makes cortisol zona, fasciculata. LH and FSH, we talked about those. So there's diseases with the anterior pituitary, prolactinoma. That's the one that is a tumor and causes the excessive release of prolactin, not milk, prolactin. Growth hormone stimulates protein synthesis and growth of the muscle. Posterior pituitary has, remember who's vasopressin? Vasopressin is ADH. Oxytocin stimulates contractions of the uterus and the ejection of the breast milk. Pituitary disorders can be caused by diseases of the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus. So a disease where there is an over-secretion of ACTH, that's known as Cushing. Nope. Cushing disease. Cushing syndrome is different. Cushing disease is when the problem is in the pituitary gland. Cushing syndrome is when the problem is in the adrenal gland. We will see it. Hold on.
Can you repeat that?
Okay. Cushing's disease is when a problem is in the pituitary. Cushing syndrome is when the adrenal gland is secreting too much cortisol. Now, what is SIAD? SIAD is syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone secretion. Well, that's a big problem because the neurohypophysis is excessively secreting what? ADH. That means you're going to be holding a lot of water. There's excessive renal reabsorption of water and suppression of the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. Sometimes it's caused by an ectopic production of ADH by some tumor. Some tumor can mistakenly secrete so much ADH. Now, in order to find out SIAD, the diagnostic is the lab test. So, concentrated urine, like there's increased urine in sodium, increased urine osmolarity, but as the urine volume decreases, the urine osmolarity will increase. So, blood testing. You have decreased blood sodium like dilutional hyponatremia and decreased blood osmolarity. And the treatment for that is patient must take vasopressin antagonist because SIAD is caused by ADH vasopressin. So we want the antagonist. Diabetes insipidus has nothing to do with sugar. It's not diabetes mellitus, diabetes insipidus. So why do they say diabetes? Because you urinate a lot. That's the only thing that it has with diabetes. So here, in diabetes insipidus, there is insufficiency of ADH causing the loss of too much water in the urine. Insufficiency of ADH, meaning you cannot retain water. Shaquille, I can hear you over here. There is insufficiency of what? Somebody tell me. Water retention. So I'm losing water. That's why polyuria, I'm urinating a lot. I'm losing a lot of water, blood volume. That's like getting shot or getting stabbed. That's hypovolemia. That's diabetes insipidus. Due to reduced distal renal tubule ability to reabsorb the water. It comes in three forms, this diabetes insipidus. There is primary nephrogenic, there is a primary neurogenic. That means in the posterior pituitary there is no more ADH. You just can't make ADH. So you cannot retain water now. That's the first type. Secondary neurogenic, insufficient secretion of the ADH is caused by some infection or a disease near the hypothalamus. So primary neurogenic meaning there is an intrinsic problem in the hypothalamus or in the pituitary that is disabling the genesis and the making of ADH. But in secondary neurogenic, it is some tumor nearby that is, or some infection, meningitis, or some disease that is damaging the hypophysis and the posterior neurohypophysis from making ADH. Nephrogenic. How could we have nephrogenic diabetes insipidus? It means that ADH is secreted fine. No problem in the hypothalamus. No problem in the pituitary gland. The problem is in the kidney. It cannot cooperate with ADH to reabsorb the water. Risk factors, head injury or lesion. Lab tests include, for urine testing, there is a decrease in urine specific gravity, and medications would be to take the ADH replacement, because the problem is that there's no ADH, whether there's no ADH because of a tumor, there's no ADH because of the hypothalamus can't make it, no ADH because of the nephrons can respond to ADH. In the end, we need ADH, so the treatment is the ADH.
What is NADH alternative? Like
Desmopressin,
okay.
right here. Synthetic ADH is desmopressin. That's like the one they make, just like for the thyroid gland, they make a synthetic levothyroxine. Very good.
Okay.
Now, hypersecretion of growth hormone, acromegaly. The difference between acromegaly and gigantism, you really need to know that. If there is hypersecretion of growth hormone while you're a baby, before the fusing of the epiphyseal plate, the disease is now called gigantism because it happened to you as a baby before you complete your growth. But if the hypersecretion happens during the adulthood, that's known as acromegaly. Now, hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism is when there's excessive secretion of the thyroid hormone. So now everything's through the roof. The temperature is roof. The sweating, the basal metabolic rate is high. The heart rate is high. Breathing rate is high. Because that's what the thyroid hormone does. Hypothyroidism is the opposite. Thyrotoxicosis is a condition that is due to any cause of unexplained and unmanaged increase in thyroid hormone levels. Hyperthyroidism, like I said, there's nervousness, irritability, hyperactivity. Hyperthyroidism, the blood TSH level, there's a decrease in Graves' disease. So when we look at what's Graves' disease, Graves' disease is when your immune system makes immunoglobulins that resemble and look just like the thyroid hormone. It does not look like the thyroid hormone. It is an immunoglobulin, and these are thyrotropin receptor antibodies. So they bind to this is the most indicative form of Graves' disease. So the thyroid stimulating immunoglobulin that is elevated in Graves' disease. You see now the issue here is you have some fake synthetic immunoglobulins that are successfully stimulating the thyroid gland to secrete the thyroid hormone. And you have no TSH. They look like the TSH, the immunoglobulins. The thyroid storm and crisis, that's a medical emergency. There's a sudden surge of large hormones, of thyroid hormones in the blood, causing an even greater increase in the body metabolism. That's a medical emergency. Precipitating factors are often in Graves' disease, like infection, trauma, emotional stress, and that type. Hypothyroidism, that's the opposite. That means there is going to be a drop in thyroid hormone. So the breathing rate low, palpitations are low, blood pressure is low, the temperature is low, the basal metabolic rate is low, you're going to be increasing in weight. And there's three causes: primary, secondary, and tertiary causes of hyperthyroidism. Primary cause is dysfunction of the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland has been damaged. It's caused by autoimmune thyroiditis. There is a loss of thyroid tissue, medications, and endemic iodine deficiency. Secondary form is the failure of anterior pituitary to synthesize adequate thyroid stimulating hormone. So in the primary, it means that the thyroid gland cannot make thyroid hormone. In the secondary, the anterior pituitary cannot make TSH in order to stimulate the thyroid hormone. Tertiary is a problem where now the thyroid cannot make thyrotropin releasing hormone. So it's inverted. Primary, thyroid can make the thyroid hormone. Secondary, the pituitary can make thyroid hormone. Tertiary, the hypothalamus can make the thyroid hormone. Expected findings are fatigue, lethargy, irritability, intolerance to cold. You see constipation, everything is low and low. And you'll see that with the diagnostics, laboratory tests and diagnostic procedures, you'll see that the T3 and T4 levels are decreased. What is mixed edema coma? This is one of the most dangerous complications of hypothyroidism. Mixed edema coma is a life-threatening condition that occurs when hypothyroidism is untreated or poorly managed, or when stressors like acute illness, surgery, chemotherapy, or discontinuing the thyroid replacement therapy. Medications are, we label the levothyroxine bolus. Manifestations of this thyroid alterations: hypothyroidism, that's the problem with hypothyroidism, periorbital edema, and hyperthyroidism is exophthalmos. These are the two opposite spectrums of these two debilitating diseases. Disorders of the adrenal cortex. We talked about that. We said that the zona glomerulosa at the top surface releases the mineral corticoids. Mineral corticoids such as aldosterone. They increase sodium absorption and potassium excretion by the kidneys. The glucocorticoids, cortisol, they affect glucose, protein, and fat metabolism, and they affect the body response to stress. Why do they call them glucocorticoids? Why do they call them glucocorticoid? What does the word gluco remind you of? Gluco reminds you of sugar. Excellent. So glucocorticoid means sugar. So the mineral corticoids, this is aldosterone. It increases the sodium absorption and potassium secretion by the kidneys. And glucocorticoids are called glucocorticoid because of what? Can somebody answer this question? The word gluco means glucose, right? So there's a reason why glucose is in there. Cortisol is glucocorticoid like cortisol. Cortisol is going to increase glucose in the blood. Why? Why would cortisol increase glucose in the blood? Because when it comes to cortisol, cortisol is a stress hormone. When you're stressed out, do you need energy or do you not need energy? You need energy. You need metabolism. Cortisol has a special way of performing metabolism. Metabolism, we mean by metabolism, catabolism, breakdown of macromolecules into micromolecules in order to get ATP. Catabolism. Cortisol breaks down lipids and fats and don't want to do nothing with no glucose. So it prefers, cortisol prefers to break down fats, lipids, and it prefers to leave glucose. That's why people who take the cortisol shot or who take, you know that when you have back pain and they give you the corticosteroids to lower the sciatica pain, why did my blood sugar go up? Because the corticosteroids, they shift the metabolism and they don't break down fat. They don't break down glucose. And they break down what? Fats. So they break down the fat, but they don't touch the sugar. So the sugar keeps building up, building up, building up, and you get diabetes.
So what do they do with people who have diabetes? They get those shit.
They don't get the shot.
They don't get the shot?
No, you'll get the shot. The doctor, the pain management say, you're in pain, you want a shot? Let me see your blood work. If your A1C says that you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, oh, it's too bad for both of us. You cannot get rid of the pain and I cannot swipe the insurance. No, they deal with they take NSAIDs. Of course, there's alternatives. They take NSAIDs. They take some other forms of injections, but absolutely not the very effective corticosteroids. The doctor for the pain management, when he looks and sees that the patient who is in so much pain has a high blood sugar, he's more mad. It's bad for both of us. Your blood pressure, your pain is too much, your sugar is too high, you can't get the pain injection, and you can't numb the pain, and that cannot swipe your insurance. It's bad for both of us. Anyways, then we have the sex hormones. That is where men have a little bit of estrogen, and females have a little bit of Cushing's disease, excessive anterior pituitary secretion of ACTH. Cushing's syndrome, manifestation from long-term use of glucocorticoid. Like somebody who's taking, I don't have any problem with my pituitary making too much ACTH. I don't have any problem with my hypothalamus making too much ACTH. I'm just taking some other asthma medication and it has a lot of corticosteroids, and that is going to be Cushing's syndrome. It's when a secondary reason, that you have so much ACTH because of pre-existing disease that require you to take a medication that increased the ACTH. Are we clear? Manifestations, the number one sign for that is buffalo hump and a truncal obesity and moon face. You know, in some cultures, if you want to tell a woman she's pretty, you're pretty like the moon. You have moon face. That's not how it works. This is very bad to tell a woman you have a moon face. Because that's what moon face means. My friend said, I'm mad at my wife. I told him, tell her you have moon face, you're beautiful. They both don't know what that is. It's good when you have friends who are not have nothing to do with science. But anyways, yeah. Moon face is not, yeah, some woman tell them, oh my god, you're beautiful, you're like the moon, you have moon face. She's like, oh my god. You wanna see moon face? Oh, that's moon face. Where's moon face? There's no moon face here. We will look it up. But okay, don't say that. Okay, Cushing disease, endogenous increase in cortisol. Cushing syndrome, Angelica, is exogenous. You take, yeah, you take like cortisol, organ transplant, chemotherapy. You have medication for some autoimmune disease. That's Cushing syndrome. Yeah, this is moon face. Oh, the babies are beautiful. Okay, moon face. When I get married and I'm mad at my wife, I tell her, listen, you have moon face. You're so beautiful.
She looks it up, then you're gonna have a problem.
She will not look it up because I'm gonna make it look like the moon is so beautiful. Your face is like the moon. You have moon face. And it will just go right over her brain. Right through her brain. I cannot wait to do that. I cannot wait to do that. Yeah. Yeah, oh boy. Yeah, hopefully she's not. I don't think she'll be in the medical field. I don't think she'll be in the medical field. Anyway, so the laboratory. So plasma ACTH levels increase when anterior pituitary release ACTH. Dexamethasone suppression test. This is the one that reveals for us if the clients are suffering from Cushing disease. So clients were given oral dexamethasone at night. Then 24 hours later, they collect the urine. Clients with that Cushing disease, they have a suppression of cortisol secretion. They have a suppression of cortisol secretion.
Professor, is moon face reversible? Is moon face reversible?
Absolutely. If you go and you get the medication, as we will see in a little bit, you take the dexamethasone, it will completely eradicate this hypersecretion of ACTH, and the face will resort back to its normal contours. You'll be fine. You'll be healthy. Whenever the medication and the cure is there, there will be no signs that you even had the disease. So it's absolutely reversible. It's not like it's untreatable. You gotta be on a medication for life, yeah. Addison's disease is the opposite. Now when you have too little ACTH. The same way we had primary ACTH secretion, Cushing's disease, Cushing syndrome. We also have Addison's disease where there is a drop. Primary adrenal insufficiency, there's autoimmune mechanisms that destroy the adrenal cortical cells. Secondary hypocortisolism is decreased ACTH, adrenal atrophy, and often results from prolonged exposure to exogenous glucocorticoids. Disorders of the adrenal cortex. So the cause of the primary Addison disease is idiopathic autoimmune dysfunction, and causes of the secondary Addison disease, steroid withdrawal, and hypophyseectomy. So expected findings are weight loss, craving for salt, hyperpigmentation of the skin. And we talked about diabetes mellitus, that's a metabolic disease, and there's type 1. Type 1 here is not end organ resistance. You need to know the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Type 1 is when your immune system has amnesia. What does it mean when we say your immune system has amnesia? It forgets self from non-self. It doesn't forget itself. It's supposed to go kill non-self like bacteria, microbes, fungi, pathogenic microbes, fungi, viruses, cancer cells. That's non-self. But the Immune system is not supposed to damage the own self. So now it will have amnesia. There's different kinds of amnesia that your immune system can have. It can have amnesia to destroy the cartilage in your knees. That's rheumatological arthritis. Or it can have amnesia and it destroys your beta or alpha cells of the pancreas. Beta, because who secretes alpha?
Glucagon.
Glucagon. Oh, I'm dying. Remember last time I complained to you guys about my heart? Now my kidneys. Yeah. My life is going for education. Is what? What did you say? Yeah.
It's the Coke.
The Coke? I stopped it. You know, ever since they told me something wrong with your kidney? No soda, no desire for food, no desire for life. I've been rewinding my life tape. I remember my country. I remember that's it. I'm gonna die. I'm living with my mom. What are you talking about? Then you go back to I'm living with my mom and my dad. You know, he buys me these. You know, I give my mom and my dad half my salary. I give half my salary mom, half my salary dad. But anyways, my dad got me this. And you know, he doesn't like that I'm carrying this backpack. You look like a student. Shame on you. Are you a professor? So he bought for me a nice briefcase. So I took it, I left it in the room, and I took my backpack again. He was mad. He started a world riot with my mom. He said he doesn't think they respect my gift. He doesn't take my gift. I have too much stuff to carry for a briefcase. It's too much. It's too much. Don't be mad at me. Drama every day. Drama every day. My brother got married. He has his own life. I'm dealing with drama every day. Every single day. You know, one time I left 5 a.m. I'm lecturing from 5 a.m. until the last lecture, 8 to 11 p.m. I'm coming home. My dad cut my hair. Dad, it's 11 p.m. I can't walk. You are a bad son. And both come to me and they do it at the same time. Oh, shame on you. I'm gonna die and rest. I hope I go to heaven. Anyways, let's finish before I die. Diabetes mellitus type 1. So the most common pediatric chronic disease, it's immunologically mediated. And remember, type 1, they used to call it juvenile. You know, you can't say that no more. That's finished. You can't say that because it appeared in children. But is your autoimmune system having amnesia destroying your
Beta cells.
beta cells? If you put the pancreas, I'll give you wrong because the other cells are fine. Alpha is okay, gamma is okay, the exocrine glands are okay. It's just the beta. Type 2, we talked about that enough. That's the one that gave me my heart. We talk about that one a lot. It's when there's too much sugar inside the cells and you keep on bringing even more sugar and the cell now plucked off, removed, down-regulated all the receptors. Now there is no receptor insulin can bind to. And you keep adding insulin and there's no receptor. So the best way to do it, I have a relative of mine, his plane crashed, he didn't die, in like a village that is very far in my country. And he remained there, he was drinking goat milk and none of the bad stuff like in the city. No burgers, no cheese, no all that, everything organic. The water is fresh, everything is nice. You know, by the time he made it to the city, like I think a year later, they thought he was dead. When he came back, the first blood work he did, his diabetes was reversed. Because all the sugar was gone. Yeah. So you have to be able to break down the sugar. Lifestyle changes. Okay. And what you need to know about the A1C is that every 3 months, 1 to 20 days is what? Every 4 months, not 3 months. Every 4 months, you have to look at your A1Cs because your A1C means how much sugar do you have in your blood that is starting to latch on the red blood cells. It makes like a glycopeptide on the surface on the red blood cell. So every time they die, we measure the new ones, how much sugar is in there. Be careful about your sugar. Metabolic syndrome, the presence of at least 3 factors increase the risk for cardiovascular events. Yes, central obesity, hyperlipidemia, and blood pressure that's high. And insulin resistance, you know that. So now you see this is a problem. Pancreatitis and Cushing syndrome are the secondary causes of diabetes. So if you have pancreatitis and Cushing syndrome, you will end up with diabetes. Kussmaul respiration, guys. What is Kussmaul respiration? That is the number 1 sign for what? Diabetic ketoacidosis. Excellent. Very good. Brilliant. Increased respiratory rate and depth in attempt to excrete carbon dioxide and acid due to the metabolic acidosis. Diagnosis: 2 findings on separate days of at least one of the following. Blood glucose more than 200, fasting blood glucose more than 126, and the A1C is more than, yeah, that's a lot. That's bad. If you exercise, you will be fine. If you exercise and you eat right, you're so right, you eat right, you can't eat those. I don't remember the last time I had a burger. I hate it now. No. I just hate it because it made me sick, so now I'm not having it. Now I'm eating healthy food. My mom made me lentils with chicken. It was nice. Mom said, I told you you wanted the deli food, now you're gonna pay the price. Now I learned, but it's too late. Now, no more deli food for me. Now mommy's food. I just eat mommy's food. The lentil was good. I was gonna bring it to my friend, the other professor. You know the one who said hi to me before he leaves? Yeah. Yeah. So I was gonna bring him. Then next week I'll bring him lentils with garlic. Oh good God, it was amazing. It was good. And it felt good. It's not like those Philly steak after I eat it, I feel like the devil is like possessed me. It's very bad. One time I ate Philly steak, I woke up in the middle of the night, diarrhea, I was giving birth, I was screaming. The first time in my life I was making sound. It was painful. I never had Philly steak ever since. It made me scream. That's how bad Philly steaks are. Never again. I was like, yeah, that's the deli guy. They don't cook it properly. And also remember the H. pylori, like the food is so bad, it's infested with bad microbes. And then you eat it. And you know that H. pylori can make a stomach fissure and it will never heal. It will never heal. You just keep taking the medication and the doctor swipe the insurance and you're never going to heal. So be careful not to get it from day one. This H. pylori is really bad, guys. So don't eat from the deli. Yeah, I said to my mom, that's it, from now on I'm only eating home. It's like back in the day, I'm 12 years old now. Mommy gonna make me my lunch now. I told her, me and my friend, both of us. I'm gonna have my lunch box. The guy in the deli miss me, they all miss me. Bye-bye. No more. Hyperglycemic hyperosmolar state. Now that's a deficit. There's so much sugar, it's starting to mess up the osmotic balance that is in your blood. So sustained osmotic diuresis, so now you're going to be urinating a lot because of the loss of the water. And we investigated by looking at the sodium and potassium levels and kidney function test, blood osmolarity, and we said, remember that diabetic ketoacidosis, please remember this. Please, this is very high yield. You will see it in MedSurg, you will see it in the NCLEX, you will see it everywhere. Bless you. You will see that diabetic ketoacidosis is the #1 indicator with, Kussmaul respirations are the #1 indicator for diabetic ketoacidosis DKA. Any questions? Are there any questions?